Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jet airliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on. Welcome to Indiana Sports Week with Coyle and Larry coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Hope you're having a dry day, as it looks like it's going to be rainy out there. But appreciate you joining us here on the program. We got another good one for you. Sherron Wilkerson, former Hoosier, is going to join us, now coaching at Madison High School. Looking forward to talking to Sherron's been with us before. Dustin Schuette's going to talk as well. It is draft day, Todd Leary. Is your name in? Are you in the NFL draft?
If someone needs an extra offensive lineman, I could probably throw my name in the ringer there.
Yeah, you could not. Don't let him kid you, folks. He's not. He don't have anything to worry about playing a line. Maybe tight end. He maybe get some tight end action. I mean, 6'3", some beef. That would
have
work.
To be a blocking tight end. If you have to get more than 10 yards down the field, I'm out.
Oh my God! I played blocking tight end when I was 6 foot, 145 pounds in high school. It was crazy.
I'll tell you what, I've never been more excited about a draft day coming up, just to have something to watch.
Well, our friend Dustin Schuette from Saturday Tradition, who will join us, texted me. He said, this will probably be the most watched first round in draft day history.
Yeah, that is stating the obvious right there.
Yeah, it's must-see TV, I guess. Other big news, Muffet McGraw, the head coach at Notre Dame, steps down after 33 years up there, 848 and 252, two natties, 01 and 18. She's a Hall of Fame member since 13, only 13 females in that Hall of Fame. 936 total wins in the D1, sixth in all-time D1. That's pretty good career.
That's strong. That's pretty strong.
Good numbers.
It kind of goes along with some of the stuff that we talked about. I know it's women's basketball, but it's high Division I college basketball, and there just have not been hardly any coaching changes and turnover in this. Given the circumstances we're in, I don't know if a lot of it's going to come. Like, this is a weird timing. Seems like this would have happened a month ago if it was going to happen, and it's just strange. Like, we have seen virtually no high Division I men's basketball teams change coaches.
I wonder how much of the COVID-19 effects have had on this, of just sitting there, not having to try to, she's at the end of her career, obviously.
Yeah. What age is she? She's probably 60 years old.
She's probably thinking, do I really want to be sitting here on a Zoom call to some 18-year-old, 16-year-old kid?
In South Bend, Indiana.
So, I mean, her former assistant has taken over for her. But it got me to thinking, Notre Dame has been the gold standard in the statewide for college women's basketball for a while. But now, so that kind of opens the door maybe. Terry Morin, perfect timing. The Indiana program kind of on the rise. Had a couple of Notre Dame transfers, as a matter of fact. Allie Patberg, I think, came from Notre Dame. There's another girl that's waiting for a year to be up from Notre Dame transfer. But could be possible timing for Indiana to elevate the women's program.
Yep. No, there's no question. Anytime you get an iconic coach like that retires or leaves a school, I mean, you just based on past history, we would expect maybe a little drop off from Notre Dame, and that gives schools like Indiana and Purdue an opportunity to bump up. But, also she's been there for a while and created such a foundation. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't just pick right up where they were. Yeah.
I mean, she's got a former assistant, so obviously the coach has a great familiarity with the program and all that. Since it says former assistant, it tells me that she's not in place there.
Been somewhere else, right?
Yeah. So, and that also, I think that helps a lot, because you go see something else and bring in some other ideas, or just because you can't just do the exact same thing. No one could have come in after Bob Knight and tried to be Bob Knight. It would not have worked. I don't think that works for any coach. But, you're right, though. I mean, there's no reason for them to slow down. I think it's – and I don't mean this in a negative way, but women's basketball is a little easier because if you have players, man, it's a lot easier to dominate on the women's side than it is the men right now. If you have
the cream of women's basketball is much higher at the top than the other group of schools that are there. And there's a large clump of schools that are on the verge of trying to knock on that door and get up there. But, the Connecticut's and the Tennessees and Notre Dame's and now Baylor's of the world, I mean, they are far superior on a yearly basis than the other teams. And you just don't see that. I mean, even when Duke is always really, really good, I mean, they're not going 37-1 or 38-0 every year and for 2 or 3 years consecutively. So,
yeah, this is back in maybe when UCLA was on their run in the late 60s, 70s. They had that, but that was a whole lot of other issues going on there.
Right.
We're familiar with. But also, yesterday, I noticed that in Major League Baseball, MLB suspended Red Sox manager Alex Cora through this entire season, through the postseason of this year. I think it had to do with his involvement in that Houston Astros sign stealing scandal. Their replay operators suspended through the 2021 season, so that's through next year, the end of the season. So the sign stealing, well, it used to be kind of part of the game, and it still is in such a way, and I'm cool with that. But when they start breaking out video cameras and putting buzzers on people, to me, that's way over the line.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously we've gone through that, and they went way beyond what is the definition of competition and being prepared versus just straight up cheating, and I don't think there's any question. There'll probably continue to be more and more issues with that. I mean, I'm just shocked that none of the players and none of those guys really got much of a punishment, or if anything, for it.
Well, and it's funny to me. It seems like Major League Baseball was kind of caught off guard by how PO'd the public was about it. They're like, wait, whoa, what? Hey, I think they thought it would be okay, and they weren't having it. So that's why I think some of these suspensions are still coming this long after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, the trickle effect with that will be, a lot of those players are on other teams now. It isn't like all of this happened just last season.
Yeah.
I mean, this has kind of been going on. So it's as those players get, filtered out to other teams through trades or free agency and those things, and then the coaches, get hired by different organizations. I mean, there will be players within those teams that take a hard stance against it. I mean, I have been kind of surprised at the aggressive stance a lot of current players that are on other teams have been like, you know what, they're 100% cheaters. I want nothing to do with them. And, they're kind of trying to unionize and blackball them within, not formally, but just kind of within their own group. And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think those players probably took that risk and knew that was a possibility.
Yeah, and I think we saw when the season was still going, it was kind of funny. Remember how many of the Astros had been hit in the first 7 days? Yeah. It's like, okay, they're going to take care of this business themselves.
I'm sure that was just coincidence.
Yeah. Here's a heater coming to you if you want to know.
You don't have to steal this sign. It's
coming right at you. Yeah. I was going to say right at you, between your eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Today, we talked earlier, it's draft day. Tim hit us up on the text line. It's draft day. Yep, there you go. Ryan hit the text line. Notre Dame women's basketball is really solid. Coach Ivey, that's the replacement, was with Coach McGraw for 17 years, I believe, so they will still be solid, as you're right, Todd. Also, that is a really good gym to watch a basketball game in. I have not been in at Joyce Convocation Center.
It is. It's pretty cool.
It looks like a perfectly round little gym. With what I like about it is because it has that Notre Dame blue seats. I was in the Chrysler Center once. I was working for CBS, and it's had a bunch of times. So I was shooting basketball out there, and it seemed easier, but because the background was so dark, for some reason it seemed to make the shoot line so much easier. I don't know why.
I always love this. Is something I don't understand about what schools do when they do like the whiteouts or blackouts or red outs or whatever they are, because anytime you get kind of a solid base color behind the backboard, it makes it easier for your depth perception to be able to tell. When you see through there and you see multiple colors out through there, obviously it's just a very small difference, but it's still a difference. And you're right, it is easier, especially if it's a dark color, to be behind the basket. It's just easier to shoot for some reason.
It blew my mind. It was weird. I'm like, wait a minute, this just feels weird. It felt like you're just flicking the ball.
But during games, people have on clothes, so the colors all kind of are different, and then the seat colors go away.
And you got to guard up your jersey.
I don't like it when IU does those red outs, because it really gives kind of a solid background for the opponents when they come in, and takes away a little bit of the advantage.
That's fun. I never thought about that. What a unique the whiteouts. That's about the only time you get that solid color, man. It's but yeah, it's something that I notice is a distinct difference. It's just weird, but yeah,
it is a cool gym though. It is. I really liked that arena, and it was one of the better ones I think we played in.
How many times did you get to play in that? Because we
only played there once.
That was a good series. I wonder why that series. Well, it didn't really go away. It's part of the Crossroads Classic now with Butler and
right
alternating back and forth. But Indiana's been having a little more success in that here of late. The Butler kind of was the team there for a little while, but Indiana seems like they have kind of stepped back up, and they've done so during a time where they're not dominant. So that's a good sign, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those events that. I think it would be great to have that. I thought it was one of the best events that they could possibly have, until I learned from you last year that it kind of replaces their ability to go play in, one of the other big tournaments early in the season. And if that's the case, then I don't like it at all. I mean, I like the fact it's in Baker's Life, because it gives them an opportunity where the Big Ten tournament possibly could be played. So I like that opportunity, but I don't like it if it replaces like a San Juan Shootout or Maui Classic, or those trip Paradise Jams and things like that. Like those are, I would much rather go play the competition in those and play three games than have them play that one Crossroads Classic.
Yeah, I mean, and it also gives a lot of national exposure when you're in those in those type of deals, and that helps for recruiting. And I think I think that's helped put Indiana in a position right now. They're not recruiting greatly on the national scene. They don't have to too much. Obviously, you have great homegrown talent, but you still need to sprinkle in talents from someplace. And they're not. That's one place where I think that they're falling short, and I think that's probably a reason they're not a player on the national stage at this time in that regard. I think carries over.
I'm putting you on the spot just because you'll probably come up with somebody right off the top of your head. But who's the best recruit Indiana's ever had, that you can think of from like a long distance away? I mean, I guess Victor Oladipo would count, being from all the way in Maryland, maybe.
Well, you put
West.
OG.
Yeah.
Well, but
ended up being great. Yeah, I don't care about those stars, because those people, especially out west, don't know how to rank anybody. Bill Walton does all the recruiting.
That he's a perfect example. Not only was he a 3-star, he wasn't even on the stupid roster of the wherever he was working out at the thing. He had to be tracked down, so he was not someone that these guys said, "Oh, this guy's got talent." But yeah, again, to give Crean credit, he said, "Who is this dude? He can play."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much credit you really give Crean. I mean, the guy was 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan and had a 45-inch vertical. So I don't really know how much credit you give him. I think everybody probably would have liked to have had that guy on their team. But
have you ever seen anybody with more freaky raw talent? I mean, that's what he is. Yeah. He just was a freaky raw talented guy. I mean, that's as raw as raw gets.
If you could get someone with that body type. And I'll tell you, he's even different than Justin Smith, because he's got a freakishly long wingspan. But if you could get a guy like Justin Smith to be a really, really good shooter, and this is a good week to talk about this because of the Michael Jordan thing. I mean, what made Michael Jordan, his athletic ability was one of the first guys that was that freakishly athletic. But then on the flip side of it, the guy made every jumper from 17 feet. from 19 feet. I mean, he made every shot. And he didn't come up that way. I mean, that's work ethic. That is straight up. He wasn't a natural shooter growing up. I mean, he worked on it. And if you could get a guy like OG or somebody like Justin Smith to become just a really, really good shooter, I mean, their value, I mean, they would immediately go to like NBA All-Star level because of the freakish athletic. You can't teach the athletic ability. I mean, I don't care who you are. I mean, Greg Graham couldn't lift 125 pounds in college, and I'm talking about squats. I mean, the guy had zero muscle whatsoever, but he had a freaking 44-inch vertical. That's God-given talent and ability. I mean, that's not something you can go out and work on and develop. Yes, you can improve your vertical a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if you could improve it that much, every kid would be doing whatever lifts those were to improve. Every kid to be able to jump over the backboard.
Jeff Lockhart went to school with a guy just like that. He was probably about 6'3" and skinny, probably could not have squatted his own weight, and I guarantee he could jump out of the freaking gym, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's not – I mean, Greg Graham he's the perfect example to me because he wasn't over – I mean, he's my height. He's 6'2", maybe 6'3", but, I mean, he has no muscle on him whatsoever. He just could absolutely jump like crazy. And so you can't go practice that. And Justin Smith, I will stick by this until you show me a list of 10 people that are different. But in college basketball, I can't name 3 players that have more athletic ability than Justin Smith. And he's freak athletically.
And the difference for OG is that motor. That motor just doesn't stop humming. Yeah. It's just always going, always going.
It's Dennis Rodman-ish. It's kind of Dennis Rodman-like.
He's maybe, I don't want to say he's better than Dennis Rodman, but he's a little more. He has a little more to his game than Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman had a fast. Like I don't think OG's motor ever stops, but I don't think it gets to the speed and I don't think it gets to Dennis Rodman level. Dennis Rodman was not only tall, long, and crazy motor. Like he was constantly going full speed, 100 miles an hour, and OG I think constantly goes 80 miles an hour.
We got to jump out of here. Went a little long. Sherron Wilkerson is going to be joining us next, former Hoosier player, now down at Madison coaching down there. So look forward to talking to him, catching up with him. We're doing all that and more when we come back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals, right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Thursday. Joined now by Sherron Wilkerson, former Hoosier, great now coaching down in Madison. Sherron, how are you, man?
Not doing bad at all, man. I really appreciate you guys inviting me this morning.
Man, we love having you on. Got Todd Leary with us here, former teammate. Looking forward to you guys talking a little bit. Todd was reminding us how you guys used to carry their bags when you were freshmen and such.
That's the family love. Yeah,
no, we've been talking about the youngsters have grown up in life and like seniors and the freshmen and things like that. And talk about remember back when you were a freshman at times, because I remember we were talking all about how we were just dumb kids and teenagers, and you got to learn. And you got those guys telling you what to do, and it's like, man, get out of here with that stuff. But talk about your experience as a freshman. You remember those memories?
I do. At the time, it's really difficult to deal with when guys is telling you what you can do better. Obviously as a professional now and as a coach, I now understand that it's constructive criticism. And obviously, typically the people that's trying to help you, they got your best interest and just trying to get you to do the right things. Again, as a coach and former player, I'm very appreciative that I had teammates as Todd and Pat, all of them. It was great. It was, didn't realize how blessed and fortunate I was at the time.
See, Todd, he was listening. You just didn't know it.
No, I definitely was listening. I just didn't want them to know I was listening.
I say it out here all the time, Sherron. I say how much when you come in as a freshman, you just feel like you know everything. Like, what could we possibly learn about basketball? It's what we've done our whole lives. And we already know everything. And then you get to IU and you realize, oh my gosh, like it's not just throwing the ball out on the court and playing anymore. Like, there is so much thinking to the game and so much more to it that we really had no idea. And it's really hard to transition from an 18-year-old who you're exactly right. You said it exactly right. Nobody tells you how many things you have to work on when you're being recruited, but the minute you step on the court, it goes from how great you are and all the things you're going to do for the university to, hey, you don't even have a clue how to play anymore. And you're like, hold on.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So going from the high school level to that level specifically, just imagine making the jump as a sixth grader to the varsity level. That's the best way that I could describe it. So much more faster, so much more physical, so much more details to the game plan itself, understanding your teammates, understanding the system. There's a lot that goes into it, and to be in that position, not only is it a lot that goes into it, but, the expectations are a little bit different. It was definitely a culture shock for the first, I would say probably for me up until Christmas is probably when I finally got my sea legs and started to feel a little bit comfortable.
Talk about what was the nicknames of your two dingbat freshmen that came in with you?
That would have been, let's see, you would be referring to either Robbie Eggers, Richard Mandeville, Steve Hart, Robert Foster.
Robert Foster.
Yeah.
Rob Foster and Steve Hart. I don't know if you may even remember this or not, but I think I still have the article in the Indianapolis News where they nicknamed themselves Razzle and Dazzle.
That's right.
You remember that?
You got it. That's exactly right.
I never wanted to punch a kid in the face any more than I wanted to punch Rob Foster in the face.
Now, guys, I got to be honest. We're Indiana high school basketball players. It's a little bit different, versus the razzle and the dazzle of California per se. I think, Robert Foster he was a really good player. Obviously, growing up in California, he was very attracted to Magic Johnson, if you will. So he kind of took a page out of those guys' playbook. But for the most part, other than the nickname, I thought he was a pretty good player.
Oh, it was fun times. It's got to be fun to sit back and look back on those days, though. And do you keep up with any of the former teammates who you get to talk to still?
So I still talk to Brad Evans, talk to Pat Graham. Obviously, Damon and I coach in the same conference, so I get to see him quite often. It's kind of funny because when we had the celebration there at the Bluebird in Bloomington, I seen Todd, and of course I hadn't seen him in so long. But he still looked the same. He didn't age any. I don't know what he's doing, but he's living good. So that's
Sherron, I don't have any money. Sherron, I don't have any money. I can't pay you anything. Save that for Calvert or somebody.
Oh yeah, that was a great time and getting together with all those guys. But so do you lean on any of those guys for your coaching now that you started out at Madison Shaw, a private school there in Madison, now at Madison High School, part of the Hoosier Hills Conference. He mentioned coaching against Damon, part of Bedford, and you got New Albany, Floyd Central. Of course, your old school, Jeffersonville, in that same conference. What's that like coaching against Jeffersonville?
This past year was my first time experiencing coaching opposite of Jeffersonville, and of course, it's always mentally charged, emotionally charged, I should say. Anytime that you go back to your alma mater, I definitely wasn't expecting the level of emotion that came along with it. Definitely wasn't expecting the support that I had from the community at that time. It was surreal. Jeffersonville is where it's all started for me. Gave me a very good foundation to be successful. It's always very rewarding being able to go back to where you come from.
Your story is well documented. We talked about it before. I'm just always amazed at what you've done and continue to do, and how you've really continued to forge forward in a very positive way and impacting kids' lives in a positive way. So again, I always want to congratulate you for doing that. It's an amazing thing to see.
Man, I really appreciate that. This is what I figure, man. If you don't have any failures, man, it's hard to learn. Unfortunately for me, my failures was in a public forum, which obviously impacted me probably a little bit differently. And I mean that in a positive way. The embarrassment, I think, is what teaches us. And of course, man, I embarrassed a lot of people that was attached to me and that supported me, not to mention my teammates and my coaches. And, it's a lot that goes into it. And again, at the time, you don't realize it. For me, it was, it's hindsight's 20/20. So very fortunate and very appreciative. And, guys, I still lean on some of those experiences and helping kids today.
Yeah, it's a harder climb out than it is down. So again, I'd love to always make sure that people know that that stuff's appreciated, because it matters when you make that kind of effort, especially when you involve the kids and all that. I mean, Todd's the same way. I think the same way about him, and but love to see that. And then you put that into your coaching. I mean, you can give a perspective to kids that nobody else can. And trust me, I know, as being a stupid teenager, we're hard to reach, especially us guys. We're just dumb idiots.
I tell you what I found, especially in this day and age, so many kids have been hurt by the people that they trusted. So one of the things that I've really tried to make a point of emphasis, especially when building an initial relationship with a student athlete, the trust is so important. It's absolutely imperative because I believe that once a student athlete or a prospective student athlete, once they trust you, from that point, it's a little bit easier to be able to direct them in the way they need to go. And I tell you guys this too, we live in a day and age where parents' voices are very loud. Not only nowadays do you have to gain the trust of the student athlete, but you also have to gain the trust of the family. And I believe that it's absolutely critical. Now, whether it's right or wrong, that's up for debate as always. But I do think our reality now is, that the trust is imperative in working with kids today.
Could not agree with you more. Thinking about back on looking at Indiana now, they're recruiting wise, they're getting a lot back towards got Indiana kids, a lot of Hoosier roots. It was kind of that way when you were playing a lot. It was kind of the change when you were leaving there, though. But especially when you first arrived, all those Indiana kids on that roster, and it's heading back in that direction. What do you think about how they're going as far as using those Indiana kids more so?
That's as a former player, obviously, and I'm still a huge supporter. As a former player, you look back and, you ask yourself, what's the difference between now and then? And for me, one of the glaring things that really pokes out is when Coach Knight was there, 80% of the roster was Indiana kids. And since Coach Knight has left, it's probably been more 70% of the kids are out-of-state kids. So I definitely think that is one of the contributing factors as far as getting back to where we are as a program from a tradition standpoint. And it's never easy coaching, obviously, at Indiana University. I think that Archie has done a pretty good job of, coming in and trying to lay the ground for having a really good atmosphere and building the culture. So it's not easy, guys. And, having those Indiana kids is very special, if you will. So I'm blessed again to be one of those kids and hope that Archie will continue to recruit the state.
Absolutely. Todd, we need to get you up here and we can do some one-on-one and see if he still got the shot.
I would try to break his other leg the way that it's a terrible
man, how many guys can make three 3-pointers in 30 seconds in the tournament? That doesn't happen very often.
Nope.
Yeah, be ready. We're going to have you back on here tomorrow, Sherron. We'll just have you on. As long as you keep the compliments coming, we'll just keep having you on regularly.
Would love it. Absolutely. Anytime, guys. Would love it.
Hey, so how are you managing as a coach right now during all this COVID-19 battle, staying in touch with his team? I know a lot of people use the Zoom and all that, but even though it's summertime, you got to keep the kids, they have to stay in shape all the time. And how difficult has that been moving forward?
It's been really difficult. Obviously, let me say this, guys. We're all in the same boat, every program at every level. We're all in the same boat right now. So it's really hard to kind of feel sorry for myself, if you will, being that everybody is in the same place. But I will tell you this, that I believe that the off season is probably one of the most important parts of the season, if that makes any sense. I think that players are created during the off season. I think teams are created during the season. And for us, we lose one senior going into next year. So from a developmental standpoint, this offseason was very, very important to us. So right now we kind of feel like we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. This will be our last year in the Hoosier Hills Conference. So we definitely wanted to go out with a bang. We've got a daunting task in front of us. But I can tell you this, that I still talk to our guys at least once a week. Either I'm texting them or they texting me, giving me updates. And as far as what we're able to do, the kids have been disciplined and very committed. So that makes me very happy. So hopefully we can catch a few breaks and be able to get in the gym in the month of June and get ourselves ready for the up and coming season.
Did you say that Madison's leaving the Hoosier Hills Conference?
We are. This will be our last year in the Hoosier Hills Conference.
I did not know that.
Yep, we are.
What are they going to?
I've obviously grown up in Jeffersonville and being a part of the Hoosier Hill Conference as a player. I didn't realize that, number one, let me say this, Madison has a very rich tradition in the sport of basketball. I mean, really in all athletics, but specifically in basketball. And I didn't realize that, right now, as far as the classes is concerned, we're the only 3A school in the Hoosier Hill Conference. That makes a pretty big impact on you as far as from a numbers standpoint.
Well,
and,
absolutely.
I've been really impressed with the way that we've been able to compete, even though we kind of feel like we're the underdog. Our guys have still brought a positive attitude and a positive work ethic, and it's been a joy to be around.
Did they change the name of that conference? Has it always been the Hoosier Hills?
Yeah.
Always been the Hoosier Hills as far as I can remember.
Yeah, because up in Indianapolis, we call it the Hillbilly Hills.
Hey, you guys, man,
I got to deal with this every day,
the state of Indiana doesn't exist below Columbus. We make the shaft down here in southern Indiana.
Columbus.
Every day.
It's a little bit more of an added motivation, if you will.
Columbus.
There's no place in the country like Indiana high school basketball. And they call us Kentuckiana down in southern Indiana, and that's the way that most of the state treats us. But at the same time, we're still part of something that's very special, and we just try to find our place as best as we can.
Man, if you ask anybody north of 38th Street in Indianapolis, and they'll tell you that Southport is on the Ohio River.
That's exactly right.
You say Columbus,
exactly right.
I mean, I'm talking Southport is the bottom of the state.
Sherron, I have to deal with this every day, man. Every day I get this, Sherron.
I got to tell you guys, man. We've had some of the best players in the state come out of southern Indiana.
Hey, I went to Floyd Central, brother. You preach to the choir.
I can name Mr. Damon Bailey and Mr. Pat Graham. That it's going to be hard to argue now, guys.
Yeah, I trust. I try to tell him every day. I got to listen to this stuff every day from him.
I am right. I'm right with you. I think Bailey would have averaged 14 points a game in Indianapolis. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. He's a really good player. He'd average 14 points a game.
And Sherron, it's cool having you on today too, because you won a state. Todd won a state title at Lawrence North, and you won a state championship at Jeffersonville. Special thing, leading your team to a state championship in Indiana. You talk about Indiana high school basketball being so special, and having a state title behind that. Man, there's not a lot more special than that.
I mean, man, that was literally, guys. That was a dream come true. That was something that and guys, growing up, we just. Myself and the guys that I play with, we were just doing something that we loved. I mean, at the time, guys, we really didn't understand the impact, didn't understand the magnitude. And I'll be honest with you guys, even after, being fortunate enough to be in that situation, you still really doesn't fully appreciate the accomplishment. And obviously, guys, every day as I get older and, I see my kids and I see student athletes that I'm working with, you learn to appreciate it even that much more. Because, it is something that's very special, especially when you get a group of guys that can all get on the same page and, throw their personal agendas out the window and do what's best for the group. It gets you emotional, man, because it is so special.
There's a player down there that you get to see a lot of, Trey Kaufman at Silver Creek, close by. What have you seen of his play? What do you think of him as a player?
I think that he has pro potential. And guys, now I say that, it's obviously it's high school. A lot of things can change. But right now he has the body, he has the skill set, he has the understanding. He's a great student. I believe that he has over a 4.0 GPA. So he gets it. So I think for him, if he can stay healthy and if he can understand the adversities that he's going to face on his path, I think that he can make a really good life for himself. He's skilled beyond his years. He's not what I would consider to be overly athletic, but his skill set covers a lot of that. And I can tell you guys that skill set will get him a lot further than his athleticism. I was very impressed with how mature he is, not only as a basketball player, but just as a young man.
Yeah, it's one of Indiana's big targets to add as they continue bringing that great list of Indiana kids: Anthony Leal, Trey Galloway, Christian Lander. A lot of talent coming out of this state right now, Sherron.
I mean, back in the day when Coach Knight was there, if you was a top 20 kid in the state, I mean, there was no other place that you wanted to go but Indiana. And I think that's where we're slowly but surely getting back to. I think the kids are starting to flock back to Bloomington. It's a wonderful place, wonderful conference, got a good coach in place, good staff in place. The fan base is obviously second to none in the country. Man, they take care of their players. Man, there's nothing but positives attending Indiana University. So hopefully we can continue to attract these Indiana kids. I think the state of Indiana puts itself above everybody else in the country because of the coaching that we have. You will be hard pressed to find any coach in the state of Indiana that doesn't understand the game the way that it's supposed to be played. So I think that it gives us an edge. And again, hopefully we can continue to attract those kids to Indiana.
Absolutely. Sherron, man, I cannot thank you enough for joining us as always. You are just gracious with your time, and it's an absolute blast to have you on, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, man, I greatly appreciate you guys, man, really. So, man, you guys continue to do what you do, and please invite me anytime, guys. I'm ready.
I love getting you and Todd together. You guys are a riot.
Yeah, man, Todd, it was good talking to you, my friend, always. Yeah, good seeing you too, buddy.
You hit the quota of the 5 compliments to me, so I appreciate it. We'll have you back on. Just kidding, obviously. I always love talking to you, Sherron.
I mean, man, it's it's kind of funny, guys, because as a player at IU, I've always looked at Todd and Pat and Damon, Al. I looked at all those guys as older brothers. And I'm an old man, but I still look at those guys as my older brothers. So, man, and I'm very very appreciative of what they did for me. And obviously, Todd, if you guys ever need anything from me, man, please do not hesitate to ask.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Sherron, thank you, brother. You're a golden one. We appreciate you immensely. I hope you have a great day and stay safe out there.
Yes, sir. You guys stay healthy, man. It was good talking to you guys.
You too. There's Sherron Wilkerson, state champion, former Hoosier, now current coach down at Madison High School. All kinds of great things. A great fun conversation that was, man. That was an absolute blast talking to Sherron.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's just he was more mature than I definitely was as a freshman. But when all those guys came in together, he was the guy who kind of just stood out, not just basketball wise, but he's just more mature than the average kid.
Well, we got to take a break. We went way long there, but that's okay. It was fun. So we'll be back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Lay from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals, right after this.
You may find out that yourself don't mean nothing worth everywhere. You can't go forcing something.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
All in a win smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just stop by 65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, as always, powered by Rivals. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com, get signed up. Complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers. And if you're out and about and you're hungry, Eagle Point Pub, they got large one-topping pizzas for $10.99, double butter burgers and fries, wings, whatever you need. They even got beef, steaks, eggs, all kinds of stuff you can get there at eaglepointpub.com. Check that out. But we need to mention, Todd, Ed Siegel, a well-known member of the Indiana basketball community, Hall of Fame member, actually from New Albany, a high school originally, but coached around the state for 30 years, Southwestern, Boonville, Stillwell, and Pike High Schools, a 3-year letter winner in basketball, track, and cross country, member of New Albany's first team to play in the state finals in 1950, a 4-year letterman at Franklin College. Just a guy that's so well known, Todd, and you are very familiar with this guy.
Yeah, I played against him. Respect is the term I would use. I mean, he's never a person I liked at all because he was an opposing coach, but I certainly respected him, and I mean that from the sense of competitiveness. I didn't ever get to know him until when I was on the Indiana All-Star team in 1989. He was the assistant coach for Pat Rady. And I got to spend 2 solid weeks with him, and man, I tell you what, the respect factor went way up after that. He was not just a great coach, and he and I sat down and talked about all the battles we had against each other over the years, and a lot of the great players that he had playing there with Ron Rutland and LaSalle Thompson and all those guys, and I just got to spend a ton of time with him, and then not knowing any of that, I just couldn't have been. I remember calling home telling my mom how awesome Coach Siegel was, because I had played against him for years, and I just couldn't. I just didn't really like him because he was an opposing coach. But man, I changed my tune completely after getting to meet him and spend time with him. But he sat down and told me a story about his son who played on the University of Evansville basketball team that was involved in the plane crash where all the players were killed. And I mean, you talk about pulling at a 18-year-old kid's heartstrings at the time. I mean, all of a sudden I went from not liking this human being at all just because of competitiveness, then to just absolutely being endeared to him forever. And he is just a really good person, along with all the things he did for high school basketball in the state of Indiana, and so many players. You look at the list of players that he coached, it's pretty amazing. And so, yeah, he lost a battle. I don't know if he was at that same sectional where they've already been well documented. 5 people died from the virus. I read on Facebook from LaSalle Thompson that Coach Siegel died from the virus, and it's just adding to the sadness of this entire thing. But Coach Siegel was a great person for Indiana high school basketball, and it's a sad day for that.
Isn't it amazing how a good person like he obviously was can take and change not only a conversation but a relationship on just one conversation?
Totally. Well, and here's the thing, like what I'm overstating it when I say I didn't like him. Like, he was an opposing coach, and I had never met him outside of playing basketball against him. But his teams were always really good, and they beat us more times than I would ever like to admit. And it was just one of those, like, they were kind of our nemesis up there at Lawrence North. And but once I finally got to sit down, and when I saw he was going to be an assistant coach on the All-Star team, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And I'll tell you what, between Pat Rady and Ed Siegel, we could not have had two better men to sit down with a bunch of guys and tell us, talk to us and just give us nuggets from their life of coaching. I mean, that's two people who have had an incredible impact on Indiana high school players. The game itself for sure, but just so many players those guys touched in a positive way. They're just two really, really good men.
Along with Paul Logan from Warren Central.
Yeah,
just a couple of big names in Indiana athletics here recently, and it's just sad because having Sherron on, you can tell everything he does now is geared toward the kids. Same with these people. That's what they've done, but they spent their whole lives doing it. They spent
their entire lives doing it. Yeah, I mean, and I think about Ed Siegel. To me, was old. Back when I played in 1989, you look at anyone that's over 35 years old is old when you're in high school. And he was just one of those guys. For him to continue to impact basketball as long as he did, it's incredible. And, Coach Rady, I think Coach Rady just retired like maybe 3 years ago. And his impact on basketball is probably 50 some years long. And it's crazy what those guys do for so many players and kids.
If anybody has listened to this today's show, I mean, if you get nothing from this, I think that we can obviously see that, again, as dumb teenagers, when people are trying to impart wisdom upon us and we're too smart for our own good.
Sure.
But how later on, we just heard Sherron talk about all that stuff that you guys used to, you laugh at him about, but it sunk in. And there's stuff like with me, it sunk in. And with you, obviously, Ed Siegel, it sunk in. And it's funny how this stuff manifests itself years later and just guides people to who they are.
Yeah, and that's why, there's the debate all the time of, should kids play multiple sports or should they, stick with one sport and try to perfect it or get better at it. And, that's why like there are so many coaches that can impact you. I mean, I had a great baseball coach at Lawrence North that, nobody even knows that I played baseball, but this coach did a lot of great things for me and impacted me. My freshman football coach was a wrestling coach also. I mean, just so many different ways for these coaches that I got to be a part of and learn things from over the years. And that's why, I love the guys who play multiple sports. Yes, because it shows that they have different hand-eye coordination and can play different things and are athletes in general. But more importantly, because they've got to probably deal with some really, really good coaches that gave them good advice in different ways along the way.
Yeah, it's just I wish I would have been smart enough, and we all are, to have taken a lot more of that in a lot sooner.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, truly, I can remember. I specifically remember conversations, and I think I remember me rolling my eyes at certain things that guys were saying, and now I'm like, what a jerk! Like I was just an idiot. I thought I was pretty smart. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but I guess.
But I got 3 sons right now that are the same way, so every kid kind of thinks that.
Yeah, I just and some people are able to do that. I was always so jealous of them because they end up being just more successful.
Pat Graham and I have talked about this over the years, and it's true. Like you think about guys that came in, and when you're a sophomore and guys come in underneath you and they're just 1 year below you, they don't really seem that much younger. And then when you're a junior, but then when you're a senior and the freshmen come in, especially Pat and I were 5th year seniors. I mean, they're 5 years younger than us. And you're almost like, man, these guys are immature and idiots. Sherron was different. And I'm not just saying it because he was on the show today. Sherron's one of those guys I wished he had been a part of our recruiting class. I think if Sherron had come in and played 4 years with Calbert, Sherron's career would have been different. Calbert would have had a different impact on Sherron than the guys who were there when Sherron got there. And that's one of the unfortunate parts. I don't think there would have been that big of an impact on the Rob Fosters of the world. I mean, and I like Rob Foster was a good person,
right?
He was Magic. He tried to be Magic Johnson, only he's a 6'2" version of it. I mean,
yeah. You can tell by listening to Sherron. He was like, "Yeah, he's a great guy. I love him. Great player." And he just laughing at the kid that he was. I guarantee you, he's probably not like that today.
I guarantee you, he's not like he was.
Probably only half like that if he's still living in California. But you know what? We need to get him on. We'll have to figure out the way to get to him and say, "Hey, let's talk about your freshman years, Mr. Razzle. Are you Razzle or Dazzle?"
Yeah, I'm not sure which one he was, but he was the one who kind of came up with the nicknames. So if we have him on, I might have a headache that day.
We can get Razzle and Dazzle on. So
I'll pass.
I'm kidding. Hey, we got a lot more coming up. It is draft day. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition is going to join us, and we'll talk a little bit about that and what it entails in the Big Ten and the Hoosiers who may be getting drafted. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Yes, I think recruiting has definitely been affected. Obviously, I think that we were fortunate. We had a really aggressive plan with the 2021 class and even the 22 class to get guys on campus times before this all happened, not even knowing this was going to happen. But just being proactive, which we knew the 2021 class in the state of Indiana was a very strong class. I will say, even the last couple of days has probably confirmed what you're saying. I see more guys committing. more guys committing closer to home. It doesn't really matter what part of the country you're dealing with. It's been a pretty consistent theme. I think all the unknowns about future visits or lack thereof, even just the idea of being close to home and something like this, were to happen to rear its ugly head again in the future. I think guys just have gone that route. So wouldn't be across the board to say that, but definitely a trend for sure that we're seeing right now. And I think that, there's just a lot of unknowns in a lot of areas, and recruiting is no different. So no one knows how June and July are going to play themselves out in recruiting. We have an idea and we have some projections, but no one knows for sure. So I just think as you talk to parents, you talk to recruits. Now I will say we've had a tremendously effective communication system with recruits that we've been able to establish because of the situation, because of parents working from home, players being home, doing coursework from home and working out at home, and so being able to get them on the phone and build those relationships has been a very, very improved area because of the accessibility that everybody has. So that's been actually something I think has helped us a lot, because we're a relationship-driven staff, and we feed off of those relationships, and that's who we are. I mean, that's what's one of our strengths, and so building those relationships on the phone, be able to have them face to face, that's unique, but with technology and FaceTime and Zoom and different things that you can use within the rules has allowed us to build those relationships. So I just think that a lot of guys are going to choose to wait if they can't take visits in the summer months, to wait till after or during the season when they can take some visits, whatever that may be. So I just think that you get one response to the other. One guy say, hey, I'm just going to go with what's familiar and comfortable and commit, or I'm going to just hold my decision off and wait till I can go see certain places. And you just kind of have to communicate with the recruits and their families and see what they choose to do.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the golf clubs at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. That was Tom Allen reading Dante's Inferno. Hope you're having a great day. Actually, no, Coach Allen met yesterday, talked about recruiting in the 2021 class, had a Zoom meeting with the reporters, but joined now by our good friend Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition. Dustin, how are you, brother?
Hey. The NFL steps, so we're good about that. How are you guys?
Well, we're good. I had kind of a bad connection there. Hopefully that improves. But, we're getting by, enjoying the rains that's falling today. I get to do a lot of nothing, which has been a whole lot of what we've been doing a lot of. But it's draft day at least, so there's that to talk about. And you texted me earlier saying this will probably be the most watched draft day in history.
With no other light going on right now, I mean,
we're probably going to call you back. I think Matt and Jake to give you a call back and get a line there, because we're having a really bad connection. So Jake, why don't you do that? See if we can get that set up. But it is draft day, and there's only a couple of Hoosiers, Todd, that have a chance to go. There's several guys in the Big Ten, which I think just having guys taken from the Big Ten is always helpful to even to Indiana. It doesn't matter who you are, because you want to play against those guys and those kids to play in that type of league, and that's exactly what the Big Ten is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and you'll hear a lot of, I don't care if they're football or basketball players or what they are, more basketball, I think, but you hear a lot of guys say, I want to play in the Big Ten. I want to be a part of that. I want to play in the physical nature and the physicality of it. And, I like the coaches, and I think the coaching staffs within the Big Ten in football specifically are something that are pretty exciting, and a lot of players look at that and want to go be a part of that. And so, from a draft perspective, I think as many guys as you can get drafted from your conference, the better it is for your school in general.
Dustin's back with us now. Justin, brother, good to have you back. Yeah, and so now we move forward. There's not a lot of guys from Indiana that are going to be looking to get drafted, but there's a couple.
Yeah, and I think the best opportunity there would be Simon Stepaniak, the offensive lineman. So, he's a potential late round draft pick. I know wide receiver Nick Westbrook is looking to potentially sneak in, and maybe Raekwon Williams gets in there too, but those guys are probably going to be, undrafted free agents with a chance to prove themselves in training camp. So it'll be interesting to see if Indiana keeps its streak alive. I think since 2014, the Hoosiers have had at least one guy drafted in the NFL draft. So that's a streak you want to keep going. That's something that you can build off of and momentum, and that gives something for Tom Allen to sell on the recruiting trail. It's always been it's more than just from a program standpoint. It's more than just sending these guys to the NFL. That sends a message to your future recruits that, hey, you can come to Indiana, get developed, and you can pursue your career at the next level. And even if Indiana doesn't have anybody drafted this year, I still think there's a good chance to see somebody make an NFL roster next year. And you saw this past season with Raheem Mostert out at San Francisco. He helped lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl. He's an undrafted free agent a couple years later. So it's not the end of the world if you don't get drafted. They still have a chance to make a name for themselves at the next level. But hopefully Indiana can keep that streak alive this year and give something for Tom Allen to sell on the recruiting trail.
You posted, I think it was you that posted this the other day. I'm pretty sure the number of NFL players from each team in the Big Ten currently in the NFL. Was that you?
No, I don't think that was me.
It was a pretty cool post. Anyway, it showed that Indiana, Ohio State's got like 40 guys in the NFL. Indiana has 8, but you've got Nebraska with 9, Indiana, and there was like 3 teams or 4 teams with 8. So Indiana was right there. Purdue has 4. But it shows Indiana is getting guys to the NFL. Now, of course, that's probably going to increase a little bit as this recruiting has increased for them and the play has increased for them. But you can get to the NFL through Bloomington.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can have a solid career. You look at what Tevin Coleman has done during his career in the NFL. And so I think that's a good message, again, to sell because, you can't really compare to the likes of Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. Those are programs that are getting 4- and 5-star guys. Those are guys that are primarily ready for the NFL as soon as they come out of high school. So they know where their trajectory is. It's just a matter of being able to stay healthy and put up some big numbers. But when you are at Indiana, and I think it's going to explode. Explode might be not the right word because I don't think Indiana's going to have a season where they produce 8 or 9, NFL draft picks. But I think when you start to see some of these higher ranked recruiting classes that Tom Allen has been able to bring in, excuse me, and you see, some of these higher profile players that he's been able to bring to Bloomington, you're going to see those guys start to transcend into the NFL. I mean, look at Tywan Mullen. That's a kid who immediately steps on campus, makes an impact. He's got the drive. He's posting all these workout videos, even though, spring practice is canceled. He's having to do this on his own. He's a vocal leader. He's a kid that's going to be an NFL draft pick. I don't know that he's ever going to be a first round, but he'll be an NFL draft pick. And Michael Penix with his big arm, if he can have another nice season and stay healthy, he's a potential NFL draft pick. So you're going to start to see a lot of these guys that Tom Allen has recruited, that he's brought in, some of those high-ranking players that we've talked about for the past year or two now. They're going to get to the next level, and that's going to set the foundation for this Indiana program and say, hey, you don't have to just go to Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State to get to the NFL. You can do it in Indiana. You can make history at Indiana, and then you can go pursue your NFL career if you come to Indiana. So I think that's going to send a really strong message. It may just take a year or two for some of those high-level recruits to get in through Tom Allen's program, get them developed, and get them to the next level.
Tom Allen's going to hire you for a marketing campaign, I think. Dustin, he just pretty much laid out his marketing plan there, Todd. I mean, you can't get better than that. But Indiana's long been a basketball school, and even when it's a basketball school, it wasn't known for sending an overabundance of guys to the NBA. But there's more than people thought. But it's certainly it matters when your school or that program is sending kids on to that next level because it matters who you get.
Yeah, football's even a different animal when it comes to that, and. Even though Indiana has been known as a basketball school for our lifetimes, I mean, it's a place where, and it's been proven that especially some skilled, I mean, you get the Antoine Randall L's of the world, and you get those guys that are able to come in and be that dynamic. I mean, it's going to change and open up the doors for more recruits to come in and have that opportunity. And, I just think that what they're building right now from a recruiting perspective is going to we're going to look back on this, kind of like we did with the Coach Mallory years and the best ones at that of this is when it kind of turned back around again in a positive way and things were going the right direction. It truly starts with the recruiting. Football is even more so, I think, than basketball, but you've got to have the big physical athletes in there. and the good skilled players in there. And Indiana's proven that they can get it, and Coach Allen's proven that he can develop them once they get there.
Yeah, and that's that's something that has not been a mantra at Indiana. It's not like this has not been a place where you come and move on, Dustin, and that matters. I mean, it really does. It matters for culture and recruiting and everything.
Yeah, because you don't want to send the message that, you're coming to Indiana, you're playing 4 years, and then you're going to move on to something else. That's not going to be appealing to those 4 and 5 star recruits. Their dream is to get to the NFL. So they're going to take the path in which they can get there. And so that's why you see a lot of those 4 and 5 star recruits are going to Ohio State. Like, just use the 2021 recruiting class as an example. And I know we've had some limitations because of the pandemic that's going on, but look at those kids. All they see is that, as you said, Ohio State's produced 40 NFL draft picks in the last 5 years. They've won 3 straight Big Ten titles. They have some guys. They had Nick Bosa, who just won the Rookie Defensive Player of the Year last season. So they know that if they want to get to the NFL, Ohio State's a really good path for that. And so you have to start thinking, if you're Indiana, how do we get guys to the next level? And it starts with recruiting, but you have to be able to prove that you can get those guys, those high 3-star, low 4-star guys, into the next level. And then you're going to start to see a wave of recruits start to say, hey, I can go to Indiana. I can step on the field immediately, where I might have to wait a year or two at Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State. And then in 2 or 3 years, I'm going to be able to pursue my NFL dream because I was developed the right way, and I'm able to pursue my NFL dream, and I have a good shot at getting drafted. So it is incredibly important. But again, I don't necessarily look at the 2020 NFL draft and say, no Indiana players got drafted. That's a big, it obviously hurts Tom Allen, but he's got the kids in there now that I think in 2 or 3 years, you're going to see get selected as potential 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round NFL draft picks.
Absolutely. And then as far as the Big Ten goes, the Big Ten is looking to have a decent big size year as far as the draft goes this year, I think, Alec. Dustin. I'm writing doing three things at once here. I'm writing 3 letters and talking to you at the same time.
Hey, and busy time, busy day. Yeah, the Big Ten could make history pretty early tonight, actually. If Chase Young, Jeff Okudah are expected to be the number 2, number 3 draft picks, and then we've heard whisperings that potentially Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa could be that number 4 pick. The Big Ten has never had 3 of the top 4 picks, and in fact, it's only happened twice, in modern NFL draft history. So since 1970, and that was the Big 12 in 2010 and the SEC in 2011. So there's a chance that the Big Ten, even within the first half hour, an hour, however long this virtual draft takes, they could be making history. So that's a good sign for the conference to show that, you can go to this league and be a high NFL draft pick. And then you look, I think there are around 50 players from the Big Ten who cracked Mel Kiper's top 300 prospects. So it could be another big season for the Big Ten. And you look at Ohio State, of course, leading the way again with 11 projections and Michigan with 10. But, there's some schools in there, Nebraska, Purdue. I think that Maryland's got a few in there that could produce some draft picks. So it should be really interesting to see how it goes. But I'm for one, as a Big Ten writer, as a Big Ten supporter and cover of the conference, I'd like to see those 3 of those top 4 go to the Big Ten. That would be pretty cool tonight.
Not that I'm a fan of Purdue by any stretch of imagination, but it shows you with having only 4 players in the NFL of what Jeff Brom inherited there, or actually did not inherit there. Because, man, Indiana's got twice the guys in the league. That just amazes me.
Yeah, and you look back at some of those recruiting classes that when Darrell Hazel was there, he brought in, and I don't like to besmirch anybody, but
how'd that guy get a job? I will.
Yeah, it actually might fit in well with this show, right? But you look at some of those classes, and I think this is where a lot of Indiana fans can relate, because Purdue wasn't competing for high level recruits. They were trying to beat out, Bowling Green, Ball State, Kent State for some of those recruits. And a long time ago, that used to be the case for Indiana. And now, obviously, both schools are fighting for in-state prospects. They're fighting for some of the top players in the Midwest. So it just goes to show, if you have the right coach, the right system, and the right message, that you can compete with some of those big time schools and get some of those big time recruits. And then obviously the money and building new facilities is obviously going quite a long ways for both those programs as well.
I want to get Todd Leary drafted.
It wouldn't be that difficult. I mean, if they need a beat up dummy on a practice squad, I mean, drafted probably not. I could walk on there because I'm pretty sure they would. There's a bunch of guys who get in line to love to hit me. That'd be great.
I could be Rudy.
There you go. You could stand on the sideline and take a few hits, I'm sure.
Jimmy.
Hey, I'd get in line to hit you. I would definitely get in line to hit you.
I guarantee I could sell do like instead of a kissing booth, hitting booth. I'd make some money, man.
Maybe the next live sporting event should be you guys doing tackling drills or something on, take turns taking shots at each other. I'm sure that would get quite a few views.
That would have been great like 25 years ago. I could see that now. It would be like a Geritol commercial, like getting up. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, it would be fun. Well, Dustin, man, I can't thank you enough for joining us as always. I know this is good. You got your popcorn ready. You got your chair set out, the drink to your side, notepad. You got all that stuff ready for the draft.
Oh yeah, I'll be snacking all night, working on the computer. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be some work to do, but hey, you know what? And we've had not a lot of news recently because of everything that's ongoing. So this will be a nice time to just kind of forget what's going on in the world, get some live sports back in our life, and hopefully, the draft will keep us entertained for a few hours and take all of our minds off stuff because I think we all could use that at least for a few hours.
Absolutely, man. We'll catch up next week and see what happened with it and where we are there. But thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate you as always.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Todd. Have a good weekend.
Hey,
there's Dustin Schutte joining us from the Saturday Tradition. Appreciate him always joining us. Indiana's not done recruiting basketball-wise, Todd. I can tell you that. I think that be on the lookout. I think that, that's not necessarily true. They may – with the 2021 class, there's so much talent next year. And Archie's already bringing in the talent that's coming in this particular class it's not like it's blockbuster, but it's good, solid talent, all of them on paper, at least. I mean, and there's no reason to think that that's not going to transfer, but he's the one player short of this thing being a monster class.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's probably a big guy away from being a monster class and jumping way up in ranking. But here's something I always remind people of. Okay, so I came in with a recruiting class of 7 people. Okay, and it was Lawrence Funderburk, Chris Lawson, Pat Graham, Greg Graham, Chris Reynolds, Calbert Cheney, and me. Okay. Now think about that recruiting class and think about where we are in 2020. You would think that all of the attention or a great deal of the attention in that class was revolved around who?
Calbert. Lawrence Funderburk. Oh, well.
Calbert.
Well, yeah, from outside.
I'm talking to 2020. Right. Now. You would say Calbert would have had an enormous amount of attention.
Oh, and absolutely.
Calbert had no more attention than I did. I can tell you that. Like he had no more. People didn't talk about any more about Calbert coming to IU than they did me, and that's because all the attention was on Lawrence Funderburk. A lot of it was on Pat Graham. He's a McDonald's All-American. Calbert wasn't a McDonald's All-American. Calbert was barely an Indiana All-Star, just like me.
Yeah, it was Lawrence Funderburk caught a lot of the. Well, and a lot of that though was the shock that he's going to come play for Bob Knight.
Agree.
Like, wait a minute, how's this going to work? And it did not work out, but.
And he was rated, nationally. He was rated like in the top 5 players nationally across the country. And then you had 6'10" Chris Lawson coming in, so a lot of the attention was on him.
I always forget about him in that class.
Yeah, he was. I'm telling you, if he would have stayed at Indiana, he would have helped us out over the years. I mean, our junior and senior years he would have helped us out.
Can you imagine having him and Funderburk?
Funderburk, I mean, if he would have made it through a year, I think he would have been fine and stayed. But he was just it wasn't for him. Bob Knight and IU is not for everybody, and he's one of the people it wasn't for. But I mean that my point in all of that is to get people to understand. You talk about this recruiting class not being a blockbuster. We won't know we won't know until after the next season whether it's a blockbuster or not, because Calbert Cheaney wasn't even on anybody's radar. And now he's probably, people that are aged 35 to 55, I mean, he's probably their all-time favorite player. So it just is, it's just, you never know until they get there. I think this recruiting class is going to be, I think it's going to be way more helpful and better than what a lot of people give it credit for.
Oh, I agree. And you're right. You can't predict, because 6 years from now, we could look at 4 guys who are playing in the NBA. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but when you look at the Bulls that we just got done watching The Last Dance, 2 of the 5 starters on an NBA team came via the NAIA route. So anything is possible.
Yeah. And keep in mind, and the NFL is also, the NFL is much different game than college football. But I would say the difference between the NFL and college football is less than the difference between the NBA and NCAA basketball. Like, absolutely. NBA basketball is almost a different sport. Even though it's basketball, it's almost a different sport. And so just because guys don't transition into the NBA, like, that's not what, I know that's not how recruiting is done. Recruiting is done by saying, hey, we'll get you the NBA the fastest. But from the actual, how you're judged in college basketball, they're 2 different sports. And just because you don't have a ton of guys being successful in the NBA doesn't mean you're not a great college program.
Hey, guess what? Who's on the show tomorrow?
Sage Steele.
Sage Steele. Can't wait to get Sage on.
I mean, is she still employed? Does she still have a job?
Well, we can ask her that. Good question. Does she get furloughed? I mean, she's got a job at home. She's got like 3 kids.
She's got 2 kids.
2 kids? I thought it was 3, but that's a job right there. So you can imagine.
No doubt.
Furlough from one job, you go to another job. It's
no doubt.
Jobs, but looking forward to talking to her. Could not have had more fun today talking to Sherron. What a blast that was. That was way more fun than I even thought it was going to be.
Yeah, he's always a good interview, but he is what you want to say when people have faced adversity and done some things they wish they hadn't done before. He comes out of it with the attitude you want people to have. Like, he learned from his mistakes and now is trying to do whatever he can to make sure that young kids and high school kids don't make the same mistake he did, which is all you can. I mean, that's as much as you can ask for. He's a good person in general.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to doing it all again tomorrow for you guys. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. No golf for you today, Todd. It looks like
No, sir.
There. So
my back could use a day off. Trust me.
He's going to be preparing for the NFL draft. So
my snacks have been ready. They have been right beside me the whole time.
3 weeks.
Yeah, no doubt.
We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. Thanks a lot to Jake, Todd, Larry, Sherron Wilkerson, and Dustin Schutte for joining us on the program today. Until tomorrow, I am Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.